Hey, this is John from fatsacksblog.com. Today I want to talk about finding articles, ideas, topics for your niche website. And I'm going to suggest that there really is no limit to the number of topics that you can find and keywords you can find for your niche. Now, I'm going to preface that with it has to be a sizable niche. For instance, red and white basketball shoes for people with chronic back pain. If that's your niche, I mean, there's not much you can write about that, right? Don't do that. Don't go that narrow. When I talk about sizable, like most of my niche sites are really in sectors like fashion, travel, automobiles, home and garden, that sort of thing. Really big, broad niches. And I recommend you do the same. At least at the level where you're registering a domain name. Don't hedge yourself in. It makes it so much easier to give you lots of latitude within which to work. Even if you have a really specific idea where you want to go as a specific website, pick a domain that's not going to hedge you in within that area. Like if you're going to do shoes, like basketball shoes. Let's say you love basketball shoes. You buy them all, you collect them, you wear them, you play basketball, the whole bit. Don't register basketballshoes.com, all right? Register something like shoebaron.com, right? Because then you can move into other shoes down the road. That doesn't mean you can't just focus on basketball shoes. You could and never expand beyond that. It's not going to look weird. It just gives you options. So why won't you ever run out of keywords and topics and concepts for your niche site? I've been doing this for years, and a couple of years ago I thought I was getting close to running out for my biggest niche site, and here I am. I'm pushing out more content per day than I was then, and the reason that it's worked out like that, and it's going to work out for all my niche sites, is what I call the cluster dive. The cluster dive is my favorite thing. And I've talked about it before. I've written about it. I think this is so important. I think clusters are just, the be-all and end-all when it comes to niche sites. And a cluster is really a tight group of interlinked articles, all related to a very specific topic. Okay, so if you ran a shoe site, all articles on basketball shoes would be a cluster. Now, you can even narrow down on that, but really essentially, you're not going. You could do basketball shoes for narrow feet. That'd be more of an article rather than it would be a cluster, right? So basketball shoes, you could have a huge cluster. But what I want to talk about is how you could turn what seems to be a limited cluster into something deep. And this is why you can't run out of keywords, because you can go deep, 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 deep. Let's take basketball shoes, for instance, right? So you're writing about it, and you're going to do what everybody does. You're going to write best basketball shoes for narrow feet, best basketball shoes for tall people, whatever, right? All of these best subs because they make a lot of money if you rank for them. I get that. But you want to add some informational content. I love info content. In fact, I don't even do a whole lot of affiliate stuff. I prefer the info stuff because the long tails, I can rank it, throw some ads on there and make money from it, okay? So I'm more interested in, of course, I'll do the best basketball shoes for blah, 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 blah. Okay, but I'm really interested in seeing how deep I can take this cluster, deep and wide, actually. So let's talk about that. So what are basketball shoes made of? So I researched. It's like, oh, okay, I got rubber, I've got mesh, I've got leather, I've got whatever shoelaces are made of. Okay, and then I got a bunch of stuff in the insole. Don't even know what that is. And so now I've got a whole bunch of materials I could write about. So let's talk about leather. How many articles can you write about leather? I bet a lot. I bet you can actually create a whole niche site on leather. I mean, go ahead right now. Go Google leather. How to make leather. What types of leather are there? How much is leather? What's the best leather? Where's leather? Where are the ranches that produce leather? What are the ranches like? I mean, endless questions about leather. How do you prepare it? How is it processed for basketball shoes versus a leather jacket? On and on and on. Leather is big business. Leather for cowboy boots versus leather for basketball shoes, and so on and so forth, right? So you could really go into the leather, and that would totally make sense and be a good fit on a basketball shoe site. I would do that. I would have no problem with that. Now, you're thinking, okay, well, this is cool, John. I like this. This is good thinking. How far do we go? Okay, leather is from cows, and cows are on ranches. And then, are we going to talk about ranches? No, I'd probably cut it off at the ranch, because put yourself in the shoes of people searching about basketball shoes. Some of them would be interested in the leather process for basketball shoes. They actually would be. But are they going to be interested in the ranching process? Not likely, right? There is an end. At some point, you draw the line, and then you focus on another cluster. Now, I also mentioned there's mesh in basketball shoes. Well, what is mesh? I don't even know what mesh is. I mean, I know it says it's fabric with like holes in it, but how is it made? What type of materials are in it? What other uses is there for mesh? Why is mesh in basketball shoes? What's the point? On and on, another cluster right there, right? And we talk about rubber. Well, rubber is kind of like leather. I mean, it's this huge, huge, huge topic. So this is how you cluster dive. And here's the thing, right? Close the keyword research tools. Now, get your general list of your original cluster, your 10, 20, 30 articles from your keyword research tools. It's great. I use keyword research all the time. I'm not knocking it. But once you've got your foundation of your cluster, it's time to go where your competition will not go. And that is deep, deep, deep into the different clusters. Look at your articles. Now, here's how you do that. You order up your articles or write it all yourself, the basic usual stuff, right? What you're going to start seeing is you're going to see references to various words. And so you're going to see leather. Oh, okay. Start looking at every word and ask yourself, is there more to this word than meets the eye? Is there more that I could write about, talking about? Basketball, we're talking basketball courts, right? Basketball courts, well, how are courts made? Well, probably asphalt, concrete. What's the stuff that goes on? How do you make the lines? How do you concrete in the post? Concrete. Oh, concrete. Okay, well, is there a specific type of concrete for basketball courts? Now, you might be thinking, well, John, nobody's going to search this stuff. And you're probably right. For a lot of them, nobody's going to search it. Or there's no way you're going to rank for it because it's very competitive. Like if you did an article on what is concrete, I mean, that's going to be a very, very competitive keyword. It's a big money keyword. You're not going to rank for it on your basketball shoe site. But it serves as a supporting article, and it creates interlinking opportunities in a very tight-knit way. And it fits there, and it adds to the site, and it makes it for a better resource. And that's why I do these. I'm cranking out these really specific sort of, I look for like materials and locations and processes and this technical stuff that you can write about that you don't really notice when you're just sort of thinking about your niche on at a superficial level. But when you dive down deep and start peeling the layers, you start noticing this stuff, and boom, a whole universe of keywords opens up in any niche, and it's amazing. Let's talk about travel niche. Like recently, I got a new suitcase. Well, it's a hard case suitcase, and it's got the caster wheels. It's got this cool zipper. It's got some other things. It's got this the safety lock thing that I guess the people at airports can access with some universal lock. I don't know. I don't use that, but it's got a bunch of these features in there, and it's probably made of certain materials. In fact, yeah, I mean, obviously it's made of certain materials, but some synthetic stuff that makes the hard shell and all. This is all stuff I could write about, right? Because it's all going to pertain to suitcases. I could create a whole luggage series, but because I go really, really in depth with a lot of technical talk, that obviously not everybody's going to care, right? Most people are going to care about what your opinion is on the best suitcase and click and buy. Awesome, we love that, right? We love to click and buy, but we also are going to have some visitors who really want to know about what goes into that suitcase because maybe they just really do their due diligence when they buy a suitcase. So you're going to serve some of that audience, and this makes your sites very, very powerful. It's going to track links. It's going to keep readers on your site longer. It's going to indicate to Google that you are truly an authority within the suitcase or the basketball shoe or the leather or whatever it is, niches. And you're going to start rising in the ranks and in the SERPs and get more traffic. And eventually you're going to have this powerhouse cluster that's going to generate revenue for years and years and years. Not every one of those articles will get traffic from SERPs. Okay, that's not the goal. The goal is to create this, look at it as a holistic approach, as a cluster as a whole, and how much traffic is this whole cluster getting. And if you're doing a lot of affiliate marketing, you want to drive all that traffic up through to your affiliate links and generate your revenue that way, or just make money from the ads, or both. Now, I think a big problem that a lot of people have when they run out of ideas for keywords or topics is they run out of approaches or processes for doing keyword research. And I've been there. You sort of hit a wall. It's like writer's block. And that means you got to start getting creative. And I can tell you right now, this approach that I've just talked about, well, like if you apply this, you can never really run out of keywords, right? And so you've got to go where your competition doesn't. And I think that's really important, and that's what I try to do. I don't want to be my competition. A lot of my competition publishes great sites. I don't want to be them. They're doing a fine job. I want to parry it. I want to move into something else that does something different. Now, obviously, there's going to be overlap. We're going to have overlap in the same niches. But if I can do stuff that they aren't, that's great. It's going to set me apart. It's going to get me search traffic. It's going to get me links and all the rest of it. And that's what's going to make it a successful niche site. And lastly, I want to talk about your zero search volume keywords. Yes, zero. Why would you publish an article that reports 0 searches in Ahrefs? Because in my experience, it's not 0. It's a lot more than that. And especially when you do a really good article, and more importantly, even a bigger cluster around a bunch of these, the actual aggregate traffic that can come to your site can be substantial. Now, are you going to get a home run every time? No, this is a numbers game. But you do enough of this, and you pay attention to the data, and you keep cranking this content out, and you keep trying to do stuff that's smart and that really serves the visitor, and publish good content and do things that other people aren't doing, you're going to start getting data, and you're going to see results. You're going to see what works, and you're going to start doing it yourself. So I understand hearing this from a theoretical perspective, from me talking about it, isn't all going to make any sense. And maybe you're not even going to believe me, and I don't blame you if you don't believe me. But all I can tell you is to try it and do some of this stuff, and look at your own results. And when you see your own results, then do more of what's getting you those results. And that's how I stumbled onto all of this stuff. It was just like trial and error, fumbling around with content, but looking for things that were results, trying different things. And this whole deep dive, cluster dive sort of concept is just something I just tried, and it worked really, really well. It's worked many times now. It's not just like a one-off. This is like my MO. I just keep growing out clusters, and I keep going back to old clusters and add more to them because I get more and more ideas all the time. And I want to wrap up with this. This is huge. This is huge. Content will get you more ideas for more content. Read it. Read what your writers do. Read the stuff you write. Look at the words. Look at the ideas that are in there. Every article, if it's half decent, is going to provide opportunities for more content that you can branch off. Now, maybe you can add it within that article, or it can be its own article. But this is where I get all the ideas. A lot of the stuff I'm publishing today, it wasn't on the radar years ago. I was publishing different stuff. But the stuff that I published back then, that I read now, and I'm looking, and it's like I'm getting ideas from that content for the new content, and what I'm publishing today is going to be inspiration for new content years down the road. So I'm never going to run out of keywords. Thanks for listening.